Sorry about that. Hello, how's everybody doing? Can you hear me okay? I'm on a different device and different mic. So just let me know in the chat if y'all can hear me. But how's everybody doing? How's everybody doing today? It is Thursday, the 9th? Thursday the 9th. We have one more day until the weekend. I'm also on using my webcam. So if I forget to look directly into the webcam, I'm sorry. I'm looking down at the laptop. I'm usually have my camera over here. So I'm all kind of mixed up today, but hopefully everybody can hear me okay. And we'll get into things in just a moment. We'll let some people kind of come in and get settled into the chat. My dogs are already out the door. They're not going to come in there. There's just too much going on in here right now. Too much going on. But I wanted to sit in a different spot because I'm usually up at my desk and it's just, I don't know. I want to be more relaxed and more like laid back with this kind of, with this channel, because it is Unfiltered with Tanya, which I need to change my name on here. Let me see. I forgot to do that before I came on. It's weird that, it doesn't like automatically just do that for you. And if I keep doing this, I'm looking at the mic. I'm used to having the mic like all up in my face. So I'm not used to using this mic. Hey, Proud Mimi. Hey, Sailor Outlaw George. Hey, Rachel. Is it Rachel or Rochelle? I think it's Rachel. Hey, Catherine. Hey, Rhonda. Hey, Private 91. How you guys doing today? Hey, DM. Hey, Ashley. Hey, Debbie. Welcome in, everybody. I decided to come over here on this channel today to just give it some love, give it some attention. It needed some attention and some care. We are doing memberships over here now. So if you'd like to become a channel member, I do have it pinned. And I think that I have it. No, that's the StreamYard link. So it is pinned at the top of the chat. If you guys would like to become a member, we would love to have you. We will be doing members only giveaways over here on this channel, members only lives, and the same with the main channel. We're going to start doing those as soon as we're going to start as soon as this month or next month, maybe next month, maybe this month. I'm not sure. But what we're going to do with the giveaways are, it just is going to depend on how many members we have. So I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do the math, but for like, let's just do an example. Let's say we have 100 members, in our group. We'll do a $15 or $20, gift card giveaway or something each month. Or we could do something like from my boutique, because I do own a boutique. Poppy and Ari is the name. So if you want to go and check that out, I'll put it in the chat as well. So I thought we'd do those kind of like something just to give back, something I could do for you guys, because you guys are the members and you guys are here and you support the channel and you help the channel grow and make the channel what it is. So I thought we would do some fun things like that. And then the same with, Titanium Built, which is my main channel also. So, hey, Kat K, welcome in. Hey, Mandy. Hey again, Ashley. Hey, Brady. I like that name, Brady Violation. I love that name. Welcome in, everybody. Oh, thank you for becoming a new member, Brady. I appreciate that. So today, actually, let me take my banner off. Man, I'm like, my banner's even wrong. Like my logo at the top says Titanium Built. I'm just going to take it off. I had this one made, but it's so small and I don't really like it. Like I want something that says Stay Spicy, but I don't like that one as much. So we're going to get that one switched out. But I am going to, as we're watching Jennifer Coffindaffer, I'm going to get ready for the day. I just got finished working out, cleaning, I took a shower. Now I'm sitting down to do this. And I was like, why don't I just go ahead and just put my makeup on for the day with you guys while we watch Jennifer Coffindaffer in her new live that she did yesterday. I saw that she did a live. It was either yesterday or the day before. I was going to come on and talk about it, but then I was just like, oh, I'll wait until tomorrow, which is today, to talk about it. But her last interview or her last live she did, it went towards Seth. The whole thing was about Seth, in my opinion, and about how like trying to fix his character or something. So I'm wondering what this one is going to be like. I'm very curious to see. I think she's a part of the green team in a way. I don't know how she is included, or I know she's monetarily included. It has to be. It has to be. Because she doesn't need clout or anything like that. I don't think. Maybe. I mean, maybe she would want that. But I think it's money. Because I know for a fact that she charges a lot of money to go on your YouTube channel. Like I've known somebody's channel she's been on. He's told me how much it cost for how long, and it blew my mind. Blew my mind. Welcome in, everybody. Hey, Electro. Hey, Princess. Welcome in, Reba. So that door, the dogs. She credits Nick and Dog a lot. Oh my God. Oh my, I can't wait to watch this. I'm going to throw up probably. I'll probably be so mad. That's why I was going to watch it with you guys. Because I'm like, this lady's already going to have me mad. I'm going to leave the chat, like the live chat on her side, you know, so we can kind of read it. If we can read it, and I'll stay over there and I'll like peek over there and look too. I just want to see who her mods are. I'm always curious to see when they mod Seth or when they mod, you know, Tony or those kind of people. So I'm curious to see if she'll end up modding somebody, you know, or if we see any familiar names. Like if she mods Bullhorn Betty, I'm quitting YouTube. I'm just quitting it. Hey, Prop Mimi, thank you for the $1.99. That's so nice of you. I can't believe she's in the FBI either. Hey, Chopper. Just like the dog interview. Oh gosh. Well, that's great. Yeah, she charges people to give her opinion. She charges a lot. $1,000 is a lot of money. $1,000. I wouldn't even pay that for Nancy Grace. You know, and I just wouldn't. And I was looking today and I was like, this chair behind me is not black. It's blue, but it looks totally black. I need to get something behind my head, which this isn't going to be my spot really for this channel. I have another spot that's like really bright and really cute, but Vincent's home today. So I'm over here. You knew she was part of his team already? I kind of did, but I didn't until that last interview. That last interview solidified it for me. I was like, oh, okay. Okay. She's definitely doing some funky stuff, you know? So I will hide this. What makes her an expert? Nothing. Thank you, Rondaroo. It's called Thunder Gray. I need to figure out the name of that. I think it's by Bear. She got a packet. Hey, Doodlebug. It was okay at first. It was just a recap. Then she turned green. Oh, gosh. That's kind of how, like, she goes. Like, I gave her so much credit when she did that Caleb Harris interview with his whole family. I thought that was really well done. And then she pulls this kind of stuff. And it's like, you're never going to be taken seriously if you align yourself with these kind of people. You're already going down the wrong path, and you just started your YouTube career this year. So, yeah, you know what I mean? This past year. So you might want to rethink Nick the Hat, Cat in the Hat, Hong, Dog the Bounty Hunter. Like, I'm sorry, but if Dog the Bounty Hunter sent me an email and was like, hey, will you want to join my team? I would say, who the hell are you? For real? Is this really Dog? And no, I don't want to join your team. That's what I say, but that's just me. She's so inconsistent. Yeah, you're right, Dan. You're very much so. So let's see what she's got to say. I'm going to speed her up just a little because, you know, she's probably a little slow. If anybody needs me to, you know, put on the closed captioning or any of that stuff, I can do that for you guys. Now, there it is. I'm like, where's it at? Better be on here. Oh, look at that. How to let you pick. Okay, cool. Hello, true crimers. That's what she always says. Look at her smiling. She's ready to go.
Welcome to Break the Case. I'm your host. I'm Jen Coffindaffer. First of all, I just wanted to thank everyone here who always tunes in every week. I really appreciate it. We're now having 2 shows a week. So thank you so much for tuning in. For anyone new, thank you for being here. This is a channel that
2 shows a week now. So we got Ward Damn Eagle in the chat. Let's just, oh man, already. We got I'm just going to say the people that I know that are part of the green team and pushing that information. We got K9 Jules in the chat. And I think that was all that I saw that I knew. Like, I don't know a whole lot of people. I mean, I know a lot of people, but not like, the whole green team, because it keeps exploding into more, which I had her name added to the green team. And so we kind of knew she was on there.
Looks through cases and looks at facts from an investigator's lens. That's the lens we come to you from. So thank you for being here. We're going to get right into it. We're going to be talking again tonight about Sebastian Rogers. Now, today, I've been thinking just a lot about Sebastian, probably because it's the first of the new year, seeing all the other missing cases that are getting solved one way or the other, and thinking, oh my gosh, February 25th is going to be a year since he went missing. And
they got her. Now she's saying the 25th. Isn't that crazy? Let me see something real quick. I wonder if I can make this bigger. Let's see. Okay. I'm trying to. Okay, I'm just going to share it with you guys. I don't think I can make it any bigger. Okay. Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, missing February 26th. Okay. Let me open up this one. Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, last seen February 26th. The only people that are pushing that whole 25th agenda is the people that are getting the green packets, because they want it to be so badly on the 25th so that they can blame Katie, so they can push it more to where it's Katie, in my opinion. But he was last seen on the 25th, but we know it was after midnight when Katie went to bed and knew he was there. So it would have been after midnight, he would have snuck out. So that would have been the 26th. If it's after 12 a.m., it turns into a whole new day for the people that are, ignorant and they don't know, and they keep saying the 25th.
I thought it was really important to look at this case from the vantage that I really always should have presented from, at least for one show, strictly. And that's what we're going to do tonight. First, though, before I get into that specific view, I wanted, for the people who don't know who Sebastian Rogers is, he was a 15-year-old when he went missing on December 7th. He turned 16, so he's 16 now. But he went missing from Hendersonville, Tennessee, in the middle of the night. His mother, we're going to go through the who's really quick, is Katie Proudfoot. Katie Proudfoot is married to Chris Proudfoot. They are married, but Chris Proudfoot is not the father of Sebastian. Seth Rogers is the father of Sebastian. They've been divorced. Chris Proudfoot, Katie is his fifth wife, and Chris is her second husband. And they live in a beautiful home, quite frankly, very nice in Hendersonville.
Dog the Bounty Hunter. He'd been married like 12 times. Let's see. How many times has Dog the... Yep. Okay. 6 times. So he's been married 6 times. And we're going to talk about Chris Proudfoot. I'm just saying. Make sure your own backyard's clean, okay?
In a nice neighborhood. And the night of the 25th, Katie Proudfoot, according to Katie Proudfoot, put her son Sebastian to bed at about 9 o'clock. At about 10 o'clock, Katie was seated at a couch kind of near the door entrance to the bedroom, and she heard a noise, which she later, when Nancy Grace asked her, what did it sound like? She said a thud, and she kind of hollers back to him. She actually calls him Bubs, I believe. And she says, listen, be quiet in there, get to bed. I don't know what you're doing in there, but
Bubby.
get to sleep. She doesn't go in and check. She just kind of hollers that out to him. So that's kind of the setup. The next morning, she goes to bed at around midnight. The next morning, she says she got up at 6 a.m. and Sebastian was gone. She says at that point, she started hollering, kind of screaming for him throughout the house. She looked all around the house and got in her car, drove throughout the neighborhood, drove to the school, came back, and then she also, of course, called her husband. Her husband, Chris Proudfoot, was reportedly working in Memphis, Tennessee. He's a crane operator, called him, and then Chris Proudfoot made a call to the sheriff's office, not the 911 number, but just the number to the sheriff's office, where he reported Sebastian missing. So that, in a nutshell, is the background of this case. But let's get into it. What I want to look at, and what we're going to look at tonight, is strictly what I'm seeing that law enforcement thinks or believes in this case.
Oh
okay?
My God!
Not what I think, not what the social media picture portrays. We're not going to talk about the portrayals of different personalities, YouTubers, as to, whether it's Chris, whether it's Katie, whether it's Seth, who's responsible for this catastrophe. We're going to focus clearly on Sebastian tonight, and clearly on what I believe from everything I see that law enforcement thought and thinks. So we're going to start from the beginning. Let's go back to the 25th. Okay. On the 25th, I mentioned what happened. On the 26th, law enforcement is contacted. And on the 26th, I'm going to talk about it a little bit later, but I also want to say on the 26th, we know, because many of us have seen the video footage on the 26th at approximately 3:10 a.m. in the morning on the 26th. So the 25th is that night again. Katie Proudfoot has a full day with her son. She says on the 25th that their day was spent literally doing all the things Sebastian Rogers likes to do. She talks about him eating this gigantic thing of popcorn. She talks about taking him to the steakhouse. She talks about having breakfast at BJ's. She talks about this full day and how happy Sebastian is. What we know from the 25th, so I'm going to digress a little bit, is we now know about the video recording that was done at Texas Roadhouse. And that, I think, is important, because we have to look at what did law enforcement see. Law enforcement would have had that.
They didn't see anything. Green hoodie guy was cleared. They came out and cleared somebody because of these dumbasses.
Likely on the 26th. I do know for a fact that a lot of the individuals that were at Texas Roadhouse were not particularly interviewed by the police, but we know they had possession of the video. What did they see? Well, now we're seeing exactly what they saw. The question is, why did anything in that Texas Roadhouse video seem to stand out to law enforcement? And the reason I say that it didn't stand out to law enforcement is because it would seem people weren't interviewed. Who am I talking about specifically? Well, we know that, as an example, that the green hooded sweatshirt individual was not interviewed by police back on the 25th, 26th, 27th. In fact,
because he didn't need to be.
They weren't interviewed by police until deep into September. Specifically, December 13th was when law enforcement interviewed Green Hoodie. Who is Green Hoodie? Green Hoodie, for anybody who has now seen that video, you can clearly see that Green Hoodie person acted kind of hinky, what I call hinky, not normal, not going to the hostess stand, not getting a table, not sitting there and ordering, the normal behavior of somebody who goes into a restaurant. And
he might have went into the restaurant to take a pee or something, or pick up his takeout, or maybe he was picking up takeout and they were bringing it out to him, because sometimes restaurants do that. They run out the food to the car. Maybe he's like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. I mean, there was nothing about that footage that is suspicious. You are just being a conspiratist right now.
And I won't spend too much time on this, but essentially I'm trying to make the point that Green
and I thought she was giving us the facts. That's all. Okay, I won't interrupt her anymore.
Hoodie goes in, goes to the bathroom, comes back out, doesn't order. It's a very unusual, and I shouldn't say very unusual because these things do happen, but it's an unusual situation from how people normally react. The important part of this isn't that Green Hoodie is important, because she's not. Law enforcement has now spoken with this person. Law enforcement has interviewed. They've determined where this person lives. They determined that it wasn't nefarious, and they had nothing to do with Sebastian Rogers' disappearance. So we know that now. My question is, though, why wasn't it important to law enforcement on February 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, not until December, when, and we're going to get into this, went to at night and in conjunction with Dog the Bounty Hunter. Why did it take that for law enforcement to deem that an important person to talk to? And it also begs the question, how about some of the other individual actions that were taking place that night at Texas Roadhouse? We've all seen it. There's a lot of interaction from different people. This is what I believe law enforcement believes. I believe
there's a lot of interaction from other people. Okay, just think about that. Sit on that for a minute. You're at a restaurant and there is a lot of interaction going on. That's suspicious. No one needs to interact at a restaurant. Don't you dare interact. You hear yourself, Jennifer?
That because they came to know from the dash cam video,
this is so light,
really the audio recording of Katie Proudfoot, they know that Sebastian made it to Katie Proudfoot and Chris Proudfoot's home where Sebastian lived. I should have mentioned that. He was living with his mom, but he had joint custody. Seth had joint custody of him. So I think because, and having been in those shoes where you're looking for an autistic child, and I hate to digress, but I want to say this. We all know that Sebastian Rogers was diagnosed autistic. This kid was smart though. This young man played video games. He had fun. He had friends. He, commiserated with his teachers. We've all seen that. We know that he was, kind of a prankster. We know that he was unique, as described by his father, Seth, meaning to me, I love unique people. Who wants to be the average cookie cutter person? So he was, autistic, but to me, the point is he was also very special in his mannerisms in a good way, not discussing autism, but rather the kind of person he was, and he was smart. So I think this is important to recognize. In any event, getting back on track, when you look at the video on the 25th, it gives me pause that law enforcement didn't consider that. And I'm saying now, the reason I think that they didn't dive into that deeper or look at people from the Texas Roadhouse may have been because they know that Sebastian Rogers arrived at his home. And so they discounted the Texas Roadhouse video as being important. Do I agree with that decision? Maybe not. I'm not trying to armchair quarterback them because I'm also going to talk a little bit about that. But I'm not trying to armchair quarterback them. All agents and all officers are different. Personally, for me, I think I probably went overboard at interviews, making sure everyone was ruled out, anything that seemed hinky to me, any possible video that could have been captured.
Such an overachiever. She was just an overachiever. That's all, guys.
Captured. I was the one that said, let's just do it, Jen. Really, yeah, I know, let's just do it, just for my peace of mind. Everyone is different. It's clear to me, from what I know now, that law enforcement, I don't think, had a heavy...
So they're lazy, and you're not.
They didn't rely heavily on the Texas Roadhouse video because they believed it wasn't important to finding out what happened to Sebastian Rogers. Okay. So law enforcement now has Sebastian Rogers believes he made it back to the house. And now they're looking at what happened after that. There are some hugely important clues that in re-looking at everything law enforcement has said, and I've looked at every second of it, read everything again, and re-looked at even comments that were made to...
Is hugely a word? Hugely? Huge? I don't know.
To TV, radio, whatever it was. And I think I have a clear picture that law enforcement truly believed on the 26th when they responded, that they responded like most law enforcement officials will in the case of an autistic child. What do I mean by that?
This is the word.
I've shared with many of you my last case that I worked, even though I was in a supervisory position at the time, operating the command post setting and giving out assignments, keeping track of the case as a whole. It was a 6-year-old autistic boy. And, that case really sticks with me. I've mentioned this before because his mom was polygraphed, failed the polygraph, basically failed because one of the questions basically said, do you know what happened? She failed the polygraph again. And it turned out she did not put her locks. She did not lock the doors. So the child got out. He ended up finding him a couple of days later, unfortunately, in a pond that was at a neighbor's house, pretty kind of far away, further away than you might imagine. But anyway, terrible case. But in any event, the reason I say this is because as law enforcement, we did not stop looking at every possible angle. I reset out, asked anybody and everybody who was a diver in terms of from all the different law enforcement agencies, if they could please send a team. And we marked out each of the ponds, any waterway, and had them all researched, RE-searched, just in case he was missed. And that's what ended up happening. But my point is, we in law enforcement know, and you see it in the true crime community, when somebody with autism particularly disappears and they are a child, and Sebastian Rogers was 15, so I'm going to say a minor child, an older child, but a minor child. The first thing we think about is that they have wandered and gone toward water from our experience, from what we know working missing cases, from what we know happens in terms of literature and what we've been taught and trained.
Does she not know that Max hit on the pond?
To know. I, in fact, on just recently, just a few days ago, spoke with one of my closest friends. We work together in the Houston office, and he now is an investigator with NCMEC about Sebastian Rogers, because just, I call so many of my former FBI agents.
Did she say about Nick?
Buddies, one of my closest friends. We work together in the Houston office, and he now is an investigator with NCMEC about
I don't know what she's saying.
Sebastian Rogers, because just, I call so many of my former FBI agent buddies because I bounce a lot of this off of them, because I have my experience to rely on, all the facts that we know that are in the public realm, and some other clues. But I wanted to get it. And the first thing out of his mouth was, he was autistic. Yes. Oh, they've got to check all the water. And we all know that. In any event, as far as we know, all the waterways have been thoroughly checked. We know a retention pond was drained. It was very shallow. And we also know, and you might have forgotten, that another pond was drained that was nearby. I'm going to get into that exactly when it was drained. So, and we know there were divers. We know there was drone coverage. We know there were cadaver dogs. We know there were scent dogs. We know there were 200 people searching for this boy right after, he was reported
That's
missing.
all
So
true.
this was not a situation where they did a poor job, where you had a couple deputies knocking on doors and looking in crawl spaces or, under house. This was not that. This was an all-out effort with law enforcement to find Sebastian. And I feel very confident in that. I do hope they really look closely at every waterway. When I say closely, that they had extremely competent divers dive, and that if they had any question, they drained. And then I hope they did it again. And I would think that they would, because this is sort of searching 101 when you're talking about an autistic child. So we're going to move on from that. One big question I've been asking, I think all of you have been asking, why in the world wasn't a luminol test done in Chris and Katie Proudfoot's home? And why weren't any fingerprints taken? Remember, Chris Proudfoot said, no, they didn't take fingerprints. They said that wouldn't be necessary. No, they didn't do luminol. Yes, they were back multiple times. They searched all the vehicles.
Because there was no evidence that a crime occurred. You have to have probable cause in order to start spraying someone's house down. I got a degree. I got 2. 3.8 grade point average, criminal justice and applied science in my bachelor's. So, Jennifer, you're not the only one that's been to school, honey.
They searched
I just
all
lost
the
my eye.
areas in the house. They searched and searched multiple times, but they didn't do those tests. This is why I'm convinced they did not do those tests. I'm convinced because I think law enforcement on the 26th, remember, we're going day by day, was convinced that neither Chris or Katie Proudfoot were involved in Sebastian going missing. I believe that they believed nothing nefarious happened in that house, and that's what they believed. I'm certain of that on that date, on the 26th, that's what they believed. I want to make sure I don't miss anything there. We know, and I think this is really important. Is we know that their search efforts took them all around the neighborhood, every single place. We know they went door to door. And I personally listened to the body-worn camera of officers that responded, and them running and, following the dog that went to the construction site. And then, right, a dog jumps into the retention pond, they drain the retention pond, right? We know all about that. But what I find very important here is there is a difference between a dog that is searching based on the scent of the child and a dog that is tracking a human scent from the Proudfoot home to the construction site. And is my understanding, it's the latter. Now, I want to specifically quote what was said from the EMS.
We got Evil CJ in there now. We've got Momming It Up. They're rolling in.
Director. The EMS director specifically said there was no dog scent. He specifically said that, an EMS director.
No, that's not right. Not abduction, no.
The emergency medical services director said that. I actually want to get my phone because I wanted to read his exact quote, and I did not bring my phone here. But I'll say it at the end. Here, I wrote it down. This was on December 30th, re-quoted. There was no trail of Sebastian. That's a quote. There was no dog trail of Sebastian. He was talking about the dogs. There's no trail of Sebastian. Again, this podcast is focusing on what law enforcement thinks, thought, and believes now, and what they have said. And this is not the first time I have heard this from him. So even though I heard with my own ears that body-worn camera footage, and I've posted it on my Twitter, please go on and look. I've got it. You can hear the whole thing. You can hear him running. You can hear an officer. They said and then he says the footprints don't match. Remember, they were looking for Sebastian not having shoes. Katie Proudfoot is adamant that all his shoes are accounted for, and I believe that. I believe his shoes are accounted for. I believe he left that home barefoot. No matter how he left the home, I believe it was barefoot. He left without his switch. He left without his phone, but he did have his glasses on. Now, from the 26th, I think this is very important. At 11:17 a.m., Sumner County put out an endangered child alert. Okay, 11:17 a.m. In that alert, they say, this is what's critical. Rogers was seen earlier in the day near Stafford Court. Remember how all of us are, it's bothering all of us that we know, according to video proof of life that we've all seen. Now, we know Sebastian Rogers was alive on the 25th at the Texas Roadhouse. There's no doubt about that. I believe law enforcement knows about proof of life after that, although we haven't heard it particularly. We know it exists, of Katie Proudfoot's dash audio situation that she had. So then we know now, we've known, but it takes recapping some of this. That endangered child alert, which I hadn't read, it's my fault. I knew there was one issued. I did not know the particulars, but they say on there that Rogers was seen earlier in the day and seen near Stafford Court. That's the 26th. So I believe that's why all the flyers, everything, the FBI poster, the law enforcement poster, that's why they're saying the 26th. Whereas many of us are saying, whoa, proof of life is the 25th. That's what we know in the public realm. And really, we know more than that because law enforcement said the 26th last seen according to that endangered child alert. Okay. So again, this is from the lens of Sumner County that I'm speaking of on the 26th. That's where we're at right now. Okay. Seen near Stafford Court. Further, they say, we need you to check out your houses. We need you to look at your garages. This is more that law enforcement says then back on the 26th near Long Hollow Pike, He specifically says, hey, public, I need your help. He was seen in and around this area and seen alive. You know, this is really important for us to revisit that. When I say seen alive, I'm not talking about the Long Hollow Court. I'm specifically talking about Stafford Court on the 26th. Now, that's what law enforcement is saying. I'm not going to comment about anything that I particularly think, just what law enforcement is saying here for everyone to consider, because it's really important, I think. They also say, law enforcement, that they had searched a 5-mile radius, 200 people in all the agencies. I think this is a good time for me to comment about missing children's case. I talked about the last one I've had many missing children cases throughout my career. People don't sleep. Agents, meaning law enforcement, we don't go to bed. We don't go home. We don't see our families. You heard it actually in the Madeline Soto case. That officer talking to Jennifer Soto saying, listen, I haven't even seen my own family. I miss my kids' things. I've been here, because that is the fervor to which law enforcement, no matter whether you're local, state, or federal, that's what happens when a child goes missing. You think on here, all of you, this case is tugging at your heartstrings. It's tugging at my heartstrings. I've shared that I have a brother that is special needs.
I knew she was going to bring up her damn brother. I'm sorry to say it. Her brother has cerebral palsy and is in a wheelchair and is unable to take care of himself. And I feel so bad for him for that. But every freaking Sebastian stream, she brings him up. Like there is a connection. Like she can feel more because she has this brother that has cerebral palsy than the regular, Joe. Well, how about I have autism, so I trump your cerebral palsy there, Jen Coffindaffer. Like, for real. This woman is insanity to me. Insanity. Hey, Crystal.
Well. And if you took a picture, which some of you can see on my Twitter, of my brother at his age and looked at Sebastian, they could be brothers. For various reasons, all of us, no matter whether we're just advocates, no matter whether we just have big hearts, no matter whether we're just...
I want to see a picture of her brother at 15. Probably just has brown. How the hell do they look alike? So you're saying that Sebastian looks like somebody that has cerebral palsy?
Just big in our missing community. We're trying to do something to make a difference. This case, everyone here, it's grabbed. Law enforcement times 10. All those law enforcement officers trying their damnedest to find Sebastian. I just wanted to touch on that because while I have done it to a degree and everyone else has definitely done it to a huge degree, armchair quarterback law enforcement, They literally have and are trying to do the best they can with what they have. Now, this sighting, again, this is what they're saying on the 26th near Stafford Court. Could this be? Could this be? And I understand, I've watched the video over and over and over again of the flashlights. The flashlights are not a trash truck. You would have to be a moron to think that the lights that are in the Nick Barris video that was made public, whether he should have or shouldn't have, at least he's on it. At least he's trying.
Didn't Seth say they were trash trucks? If I'm not mistaken, I have to find the clip, but Seth said they were trash trucks. So he's ignorant and a moron and whatever you just said, all those things. Man, you might want to check with Seth. I bet he's going to come in your chat now.
To inform the public.
Let's read that again.
I understand, I've watched the video over and over and over again of the flashlights. The flashlights are not a trash truck. You would have to be a moron to think that the lights that are in the Nick Barris video that was made public, whether he should have or shouldn't have, at least he's on it. At least he's trying to inform the public. And I just can't fault him for that. I think what he found, I think that video.
Nope, they're not, she said.
Is critical. And I don't care.
I really wish I had that clip. I would pre-record it and put it out.
About all the, reenactments. Look at the video. Look at the video. So much, I think, that is discussed takes away really our ability to just see what we see and use our common sense and our God-given intelligence. Look at that video. There's a light source that's small here. There's a second source here, closer to the house. It's all behind in kind of what I call a green belt, with this, grass area. And then, they're both like right here. And then one person, the second person, I'll call it number two, watch the video, please. Again, if you haven't seen it, gets obscured by bushes. Then like one goes off camera. Then like two follows the person. Is that what we're meaning by the 26th? Because it's 3:10 in the morning. Now, many of you might be saying, and I said this early on. Chris and Katie Proudfoot both said, and I just listened to it again today. Oh, that trash truck thing is baloney, and it's just mentioned by who. That's what Chris says. That's just who's stating that. And then Seth says also, no, it's not an investigative lead. Law enforcement did not comment, by the way. Their comment, which Craddock said at the time when he was confronted with it, and I'm sure they were upset it got out. When confronted at the time, they said, we received a lot of video. Basically, we're not going to comment. We received a lot of video. And I understand why they're upset. I really do. Because if I were in law enforcement, I'd be upset. Now I'm kind of in this middle space. So I understand both sides of it. I believe Nick Barris was doing his job, and I believe law enforcement was doing their job, deciding not to comment about it. And as far as why the parents made those comments, I believe likely maybe law enforcement said nothing to worry about. But from my view as an investigator, I see that it's significant. That's the night he goes missing. It is not a trash truck. Look at it for yourselves. That's my opinion. And I wonder if it's law enforcement's opinion. I've never commented. And until law enforcement says it, I have to go with what my eyes see. I really want you to watch it. I have to go with what my eyes see. Add on top of that according to Katie Proudfoot, Sebastian Rogers did not leave, and according to law enforcement, did not leave empty-handed. No switch and no cell phone, but he had this keychain type flashlight. So you put that together, keychain like flashlight, the hour of the morning this occurred, plus the fact that it's two separate sources. One goes this way, one goes this way, and then goes back this way. Who was that? Who is that? Is that what law enforcement is chalking up to their 26th that he was cited in and around Stafford Court? Is that why they're saying the 26th? That's never been clarified. All right, moving right along. The 27th. The 27th is very significant because law enforcement, again, this is all about law enforcement. Law enforcement says at 3:25 p.m., they upgrade from the endangered child alert to an Amber Alert. It wasn't always an Amber Alert. It was an endangered child upgraded to an Amber Alert. Let me tell you what law enforcement said as to why. Based on, this is I'm quoting, based on additional investigative information. So based on the investigation that had been done on the 26th, they determined on the 27th that they needed to make this an Amber Alert. And of course, they needed to make this an Amber Alert. You know, an Amber Alert typically signifies a child being somehow abducted or taken. in some way. And it makes sense to me that their investigation started veering in that way. Now, we're not going to run through all the different scenarios and all the different people that could be involved. We're going to stick with what law enforcement says. But this is telling. They also say they are worried. They're worried because they say Sebastian is not dressed properly for the cold. Now, I looked it up, and you can look it up too. If you look on that date, on the 26th, if you look, it was cold. It was in the 30s, if not, actually the bar graph that I saw, I just saw it stop at 30. Could it have gotten a little bit colder than 30? Perhaps I heard somebody.
It was cold, but not that night. It was in the 50s.
Else mentioned the 28 degrees. I don't know exactly how cold it was. It was cold. 32 degrees is freezing. He's barefoot. And they, oh, by the way, I meant to say this. According to their flyer, they specifically say how he is dressed. And again, that's that black sweatshirt, not a hoodie. And
Justin Farrell's in here. All the people that are in here are all the people that are part of that, like that, just that group.
Black sweatpants, which were later described, by the way, as kind of these, they're not the sweatpants, like the big woolly sweatpants. At least that's not how it was described. They even described maybe like a stripe that went on the side, but law enforcement says black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, and no shoes. How Sebastian Rogers or anyone, and I looked back at the video from the night before. I don't see him wearing a coat, at least when he goes to the car. In fact, he's got his hands deep in his pocket. He looks cold to me, even when he's sitting there eating. He just looks cold. I say that, when people move around a lot, but maybe he moves around a lot. His hands are deep in his pockets. Maybe he was nervous. Maybe he always has his hands in his pockets. Maybe he was cold. Because if you look at other people coming in, they are in huge jackets. There's a guy in this big yellow jacket. I mean, we know it was cold out. It was cold out. That's just a fact. So, sorry, I was trying to do this. So the bottom line is it's cold out. And law enforcement specifically says they're very concerned about that fact. And they say that basically a front is coming in. So a cold snap is coming in. They talk about that. So this is very important that they change it. Okay. Keeping to the 27th. Not dressed properly. Oh, this is interesting. And I had forgotten this. Maybe some of you had forgotten. Maybe some of you never knew. Maybe some of you knew it then and know it now. But they played his favorite song, Eye of the Tiger. Who doesn't love that song? Rocky, I'm the Eye of the Tiger. They played that, trying to get him to hear it. What does all of this tell me? 25th, 26th, 27th. I say the 25th because I'm just saying law enforcement had that film at that time, and they didn't decide to do anything about it, really, to any particular degree. So they believe that he makes it home, that nobody at the Texas Roadhouse has anything to do with his disappearance. They believe Katie, that he, in fact, walked out of that house. They believe that he's endangered. They believe he was in a black sweatshirt, black sweatpants, and no shoes with a flashlight. That's what law enforcement believes. That's why they didn't do luminol. That's why they didn't check for prints. And the fact that they believe he was seen on the 26th. And as far as those two flashlights and what we heard from the parents, again, I believe the parents believed that. I believe they were told that. But I believe those lights are significant. I know we said we were just going to talk about what law enforcement said. I think because law enforcement didn't come out like they did with the glasses, like they did with the green hoodie, and say, whoa, stop, not important. You never heard that about those lights. You never heard it. And it's because those lights are important. That's what I think. Unless law enforcement comes out and changes or adds or says they're not important, that's what that tells me. All right, going to the 28th. The 28th, I believe there was rain and it was cold. And of course, by this time, Sumner County's involved. Law enforcement, FBI is involved at least to some degree, although it seems to be a very minor degree. And I'm going to talk more about that. Because at the 29th, there's a press conference and they come out and they say, listen, there's no sightings. We haven't seen him. He's basically disappeared since the sighting on the 26th, early in the morning. On the 29th is when they drained a pond. So they drain a pond on the 29th. On March 2nd, again, no sightings. But I thought this was interesting and I didn't remember this. Did you know that on the 26th, there was a $3,000 reward offered by an anonymous person in Nashville, and that was later up to $3,500 reward offered? Maybe some of you remember that. I truly did not remember that. But in researching this,
I remember that. 3,000, between 3,000 and 3,500 local places were going to put up a reward for Sebastian.
There was a reward offered very early on. And typically, I want to say this too. We're going to get into this a little bit more. But When you see rewards offered by law enforcement or the FBI, oftentimes they are not offered out of their coffers. They are offered out of the coffers of family, friends, and anonymous donors. That then the FBI makes the announcement there's a $50,000 reward. It's not necessarily the FBI's money. I was talking with my friend from Nick actually about this, and we were going back and forth about it because I know personally.
She said Nick again. It's weird.
You can do ECs and get case funds to offer.
I mean, she's aligning herself with the grossest of the grossest. Nick was calling prostitutes to his neighbor's home and then calling the police on him. Like, how dirty is that? Like, the dude is dirty.
Offer rewards. I believe that's what happened in this case with the FBI. But in the other reward that was offered, the $3,500, that was from an individual donor, and it was done very early. So that's what happened on March 2nd. On March 4th, that's when law enforcement came out and said, listen, we're scaling back our search efforts. We're moving to investigative efforts, and we're moving away from search efforts. And that's what they had to do at that time. This is so manpower intensive. They had said they searched a 5-mile radius extremely well. And at that point, I'm just going to be honest. Sebastian Rogers could have been in Mexico, could have been in Canada. I'm not saying he's there. I'm just saying he could have been anywhere 6 days into a search with him not immediately found. I would believe that Sebastian Rogers, I said I wasn't going to say what I believe, but I think law enforcement is saying this as well. I think they were saying by issuing that Amber Alert on the 27th, I think he was gone. I think he was long gone with somebody. I do not believe he was in that neighborhood. He was in that 5-mile radius unless somebody has taken him and completely sequestered him in a neighboring house or something like that. He's not around there.
They checked all the homes.
And that's why it's so...
They went in and they checked all the homes in the area.
Important that we continue to use our platforms and continue.
It's so important to continue to put out factual information. I have yet to hear anything from you really that's factual.
Need to search. Yes, there are other possibilities. I'm not going to get into those. I'm going to stick with what the needle seems to be pointing, at least where we're at on the, I'm only on the March 4th right now, where law enforcement felt the needle was pointing. They said there's no leads during that presser and no indication that he is not alive. I thought that was really important. No indication that he is not alive. This is from law enforcement. So what does that tell me? That tells me,
giving the parents hope,
that law enforcement is saying, listen, we're looking for him. We don't think he is deceased. We think he maybe left with somebody, but he's not deceased. And that is such a strong and powerful message that was delivered by law enforcement on March 4th. Okay, let's go to March 7th, which is the next kind of major thing. On March 7th, this was the Kentucky landfill search. Now, the Kentucky landfill is where neighborhood trash is delivered. There was a question about, well, why didn't they search the landfill where the construction trash goes to? I don't know that answer, but I can tell you that according to what I just read from law enforcement, that is the Kentucky landfill belongs to the neighborhood trash. So they searched there. Now, I want to tell you a couple of things they said in and about that search. They said, quote, it was precautionary. They said they did not have specific info and they stopped searching that night. This is the toughest one for me as a former FBI agent, because I know to do a landfill search, to do a search of any private property, I have to have a warrant. Whether that's a cell phone, whether that's a safe, even when we go into somebody's house, we would literally take the safe out and I would do a separate affidavit pertaining to the safe contents just to be safe. You can't go into private property and conduct a landfill search with dozens of officers. We've all seen the pictures, even though they weren't, I don't know if it was really much of a search, especially when you look at Quentin Simon's search, you know, how a real landfill search is done. It takes weeks, even when you know the specific area like they knew in Quentin Simon. I know they knew the specific area here, but recall now, goes missing the night of the 25th, early morning of the 26th, and we're already at March 7th. It would take weeks to properly search that landfill, because not only do you have to go north, south, and east, west, you have to go down layer by layer. So I don't want to digress. I just want to say law enforcement said they did a landfill, and they specifically said that it was not specific in nature, but you can't do a search without being specific, because you have to write a probable cause affidavit that would show there is evidence of a crime at a location, or that you believe the body of the crime is at that location, that there's some evidentiary value that you believe is there and you believe it's there now. Those are the parameters. And then you put together.
It's because the trash was taken the night before. That was their probable cause.
Facts that would support that. Now, I could write a probable cause affidavit for this landfill right now as we talk. But
no, you can write it, but it doesn't mean anything. It's just a piece of paper, just like if I wrote one up. You have no credentials anymore there, Jennifer Coffindaffer. You're retired. You're done.
would include facts that I don't know exist. That's what you would need in this to show that there was nefarious action. So anyway, but I'm sticking with what law enforcement said, but I had to add that caveat in this particular case.
You don't have to have a search warrant for nefarious reasons or anything.
All right, let's go on to March 28th. Okay. On March 28th, Seth gives an interview, and, you know, he provides some information in that interview. Specifically, he talks about those trash trucks. Again, I think he was told that, and said that. I think the Proudfoots also said it in good faith. He says that, let's see, that there was no dog scent, that he had been advised of that. And that doesn't match up to the body-worn camera, but it matches up to what law enforcement has told the public through the emergency management system individual who has been involved in these press conferences, okay? And again, they were very smart in saying specific scent to Sebastian. And that's what I think we need to keep in mind. That just because a dog followed a scent, was it Sebastian's or was it a human scent? And that's what I think, again, not to repeat myself, but I think I did the situation. Okay, we're going now to April 2nd. This was a big press conference, again, with that Ken Widener, with the EMS, with the PIO, the information officer for Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, and of course, Chief Deputy Craddock. And they're all getting together and they're letting everybody know, oh my gosh, now we're at, you know, over a week, where are we at? So they're letting everybody know. They talk about the Cajun Navy. They say they're not working with them, but they say that they think it's good that they're handing out flyers. They say that the Cajun Navy has never reported one threat, which we all kind of knew who have kept up with this case. They only mentioned the FBI on April 2nd and Secret Service as sort of, I think their exact words is, have been helpful, or words to that effect, that they're helpful. That doesn't mean they're part of the investigation. I would even say, I don't know if at that point that the FBI even had a police cooperation case open. They might have, but you have to predicate that and write an EC, an electronic communication, and have it signed off by your supervisor, and then have, you know, case funds and everything assigned to work that case, right? But they just said they were helpful. And they said Secret Service were helpful. I believe that that's related probably to the digital evidence that was seized. Secret Service really has some of the state-of-the-art tools to investigate digital forensics on phones. So I believe that's the nexus there. And then, of course, the FBI has many of the same capabilities, more people, investigative abilities. So perhaps they, you know, said, we're here to help. I think they were certainly involved, but not in any sort of leadership capacity that I've been able to tell. And Chief Deputy Craddock essentially says that. In addition, let's see, he says they saw at that point, so on April 2nd, they had 314 tips. So 314 tips they were following up on. He says there's no footprints, there's no photographs, there was nothing indicating what happened to Sebastian Rogers. Basically, he's saying at this press conference, he's vanished, that they don't have anything and that they don't have leads. He says, however, there's no, quote, there's no evidence to support foul play. So again, on April 2nd, he is saying, I don't believe that there's foul play. I don't believe there's foul play on the part of Chris or Katie Proudfoot or Seth, the parents. They've been fully cooperative. They've been fantastic. They've done whatever we've asked. And that he specifically says, again, this is per law enforcement, no evidence to support foul play, okay? I think that's important. Again, consider the date, April 2nd. That's what he's saying. Let me tell you, so I will say, I have a problem with this from this standpoint. Again, we're sticking to what they're saying, but I just have to add a caveat here. If you don't have any evidence of foul play, you better darn well not issue an Amber Alert. It's the premise of an Amber Alert. So I'm going to call a little bit of BS on this. I think what he was trying to say is the parents. We don't have any evidence of foul play with the parents at that point, any of them. But he does it, he says it pretty broadly. But of course you have evidence of foul play. Sebastian Rogers did not walk away and disappear into thin air without help. Someone picked up that child, took that child. There was a rendezvous planned, or somebody else he knew coordinated him going missing, period.
No.
So I believe that Craddock meant in regard to the parents, but obviously they knew there was foul play afoot the minute they issued an Amber Alert. Okay.
No, it was,
let's see. 4-4. Ellie comes out.
It was because he was I think it was because of the autism is why they bumped it up to an Amber Alert.
April 4th, it says, listen, I know it seems quiet. We're not doing all these.
Because it was somebody that needed to be found immediately.
searches. We don't have hundreds of people out here, but we're committed. We're still committed to finding Sebastian Rogers. On 4/26, there was a interesting interview of Heather Cohen. Again, Heather was a PI hired by Seth Rogers. She comes out and basically says, I had a meeting with them, but they're basically meaning law enforcement isn't sharing any information with us. So, but she's interviewed on TV and says that their law enforcement isn't sharing information. So that is very usual and normal. Any PI that comes out and says that law enforcement let me look at the case file. Law enforcement is sharing videos. Law enforcement's sharing. Yeah, I'm right in there with them. That is a crock of absolute baloney. And Heather said that basically. Yeah, no, they're not sharing jack squat with us. We met, just tell them we're on their case. They can see our faces, but no, they're not doing anything. Okay, that is truthful. PIs don't get privy to anything. They can pound the pavement. They can conduct interviews. If they're licensed, of course, they have databases they can use that any of us, for the most part, can use, depending on what business we're in. And but anyway, I'm not going to digress. I'm just going to say law enforcement isn't working hand in hand with any PIs then, now, or in the future. It's not what they do. I mean, I can't even imagine a PI ever calling and saying, "Hey, can we come chat?" No, please just try not to get too in my way with the case. But on missing cases, law enforcement often to a degree welcomes private investigators, because legitimate private investigators, and if anyone ever needs one, please let me give you the name of retired FBI special agents that have amazing connections with local law enforcement. So even though they might not be able to get a lot of information, they at least could call up somebody that they worked a homicide with, or worked a, transportation of stolen goods, or
they can't give you a lot of information. Well, then why would you hire them in as a private eye?
And case with and say, "Yo, buddy, what's going on?"
She's talking about SF in a way.
On here, is there anything you can help me out with, confidentially? Again, no PI worth their salt would ever come out and say a meeting like that took place. But my point is please let me know, and I will text you a PI that can help you, that's legitimate, that's licensed, that
Deception
has
detectives
most of the PIs
in there.
I know still work within the area that they were FBI agents, which is so great. When you can do that, you already have the connections and know people. So please don't go outside of that. Just DM me. I will hook you up. But she comes out and tells the truth. And so basically, I just wanted to touch on that really quick. On 8/28, that's when the FBI reward comes out. That's $50,000. I've talked about this before on other lives. You have to do an electronic communication, and you're going to show that this is a criminal investigation. They don't just do this already. It was funny on Twitter. I said, "Give me one case," and then somebody gave me a case. I said, "Oh no, that girl was abducted. She was sexually molested. Yes, she was returned back to her family, and the guy was charged." The FBI just doesn't offer up rewards like this unless they believe that there is somebody that is involved with the person going missing. It's just facts. They have to write it up. It's $50,000. It's a big amount of money. All right, 9/19/24. Dog the Bounty Hunter at this point joins the investigation. I very strongly supported him joining. He has a huge voice. He has a huge footprint on social media. And, if you're wondering, is Dog the Bounty Hunter out there beating the bushes? No. But what Dog the Bounty Hunter is doing is he's lending his name to the investigation. He has a group he's working with. And so he gives them suggestions. He guides them. We know they have a lead investigator. I wrote her name down, Dice Davis, who's a private investigator. And we know At Night Investigations, I receive weekly information about leads they're running down. They were the ones that saw the green hoodie. They analyze that. That's
weekly packets.
That's what they're doing. They are actually looking at everything, and in a sense, kind of looking over the shoulder at law enforcement and saying, "Hey, did you look at this? Hey, did you notice this? Hey, you might not get this tip, but we're getting it because we're not law enforcement." And some people don't want to say anything to law enforcement, but they'll call him up and give a tip. So I think it was very important he get involved. Also, as of December 7th of this year, the total amount that's being offered is $225,000. I think that's really important. People can poo-poo and say, "Yeah, At Night Investigations will never do that," or Dog will never do that. Please, until they don't keep their word on a reward that they've offered publicly, it's in print, it's in writing, we've seen it everywhere. We know the FBI said 50,000. Please don't knock them for putting that out there. I want to talk about why these huge rewards are being offered. Why did the Bureau come forth and say 50,000? I'm going to tell you why. This is the sad part. Whenever you're on an investigation and tips aren't coming in anymore, and you're reaching a dead end, that's when you put out a reward. Why don't you before that? Because you are drinking from a fire hose, from tips that are garbage, from tips that are good, from tips that you should follow, from tips that you don't want to follow, but you're going to have to follow. You're logging all of that. If they're doing it correctly, they have it in a program, and they're keeping track of every tip, when it came in, who's following up on it, and what the result was. So it's a lot. 350 is no big deal. I mean, I've had cases with thousands and thousands. So, but still, you have to log and keep track. They're still drinking from a fire hose because remember, Sumner County is handling this with TBI. At that press conference I told you about on April 2nd, I think it was. Yeah, there was no detective that I saw from TBI there. I mean, the person who spoke was a public information officer. So at least then, I mean, they didn't even have, that I saw, it was announced, you know, a detective that was even at that presser. So I think that's important. And again, the FBI and Secret Service just kind of got a little bit of an honorable mention, not that they were really part of the team. So again, I know they were loosely part of the team, certainly involved in searches, but I'm talking about from a leadership standpoint. Okay, back on what law enforcement is saying. Let's see, I wanted to talk about the reward though and why they do it, why law enforcement does that. On December 13th, we finally heard again from Craddock. And don't be confused, because I had several people say, oh, see, they just came out again and they said no foul play, nobody, you know, the parents aren't involved, no foul play. And then so I went and I looked, and sure enough, it was a news report, but they had taken clips from April 2nd saying no foul play, no signs of foul play. So I'm just trying to say here that since April 2nd and then April 13th, where they say, listen, that the green hoodie guy is not involved. There's no nexus. We've interviewed. He's not involved. Talked about that earlier. Other than that, we are not hearing from law enforcement other than these instances I gave. So what that tells me is they're dry on leads. That's why they're doing the reward. They are going to be revisiting, looking at everything, but they're really, really at a dead end. That doesn't mean a case is cold. I think they're still actively, of course, working it. I think these investigators are sick at their stomach that they haven't resolved this case. I think they're going to go back and relook at interviews and everything they do know. I think they'll go back and relook at Chris and Katie Proudfoot, specifically Katie, because she's the last one to have seen him. I think they'll take a relook at that. Definitely, I would. But we don't know. This is my whole point where we're at right now. We know law enforcement, throughout the time they've delivered messaging, did not believe the Proudfoots or Seth were involved. And we believe it was an Amber Alert, which means there would have been a taking of Sebastian. We also know that from common sense. Unless an alien drone aircraft descended on his house when he walked outside and picked him up and took him into the stratosphere, Sebastian Rogers was taken that night. I think all we can hope for at this point is that he was taken by somebody who did not want to kill him. That's what we have to hope. That's what we have to hope. It is more important now than ever to please, no matter where you live, if you live in Belgium, Germany, England, Canada, Mexico, Connecticut, it doesn't matter. Please get his face and name out. He literally could be anywhere. And I think we have to keep that hope that he's somewhere, as law enforcement, I believe, is revisiting their initial belief that parents weren't involved and that he left that house with somebody. We don't know who. Those flashlights are important until and unless Craddock comes out and says, like he said with the green hooded sweater guy, and like he said when the glasses were found, and like they said when that sighting occurred, I think it was in North Carolina, if I recall correctly, that was the lookalike. All three of those. Nope. No. We haven't seen that on those flashlights. I think they're important. Thank you all for being here. I know I've jabbered on too long. I'm praying for Sebastian. I'm praying he's alive. I know y'all are too. Please use your platforms. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, may justice be served.
Oh, geez, Jennifer. Well, that's all I've got for you guys today. I just wanted to come on and show you a little bit of Jennifer Coffindaffer and her craziness. The chat got a little crazy there for a minute. Not sure why. I think it's because I made a joke. Apparently you can't do that anymore. I don't know. But that's all it was. Everybody in this case has put their own personal trauma into it. And I was making light of that because she does put her brother into this case any chance she gets, you know. But yeah, this is the channel. It's called Unfiltered. So I'm more unfiltered over here. And I don't, regret any of that. That's what happens when you get a new channel and you name it Unfiltered. But I do appreciate you guys being here today. I'll be over on the other channel, Titanium Built, this evening. And we will cover some true crime over there. Hopefully I will see you guys. If you guys aren't subscribed over there, make sure you go and subscribe. Come hang out with us tonight. We'll be there about 9:15, 8:15, 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you have your alerts set and all those good things. But I'll see you guys all tonight. And thank you for being here with me. I do appreciate you. Bye, guys.